Hi, and welcome to On the Couch, Conversations with Brenda Porter, where I sit down with people in this industry and I talk about what they do, how they do it, and how they feel. Please take the time to comment below, like us, and subscribe. Today's guest is David Rucker III. David is an actor, a writer, and a teaching artist. He's had the privilege of working on film and on stage. On stage, he's performed multiple times at Atlanta, Washington, and National Black Arts Festivals and various theaters throughout Atlanta. Currently, he's appearing on Sanctified and When Love Calls, and he has productions later this season with Atlanta Shakespeare. His film work has been seen on BET, on TV One, and his most recent film credits include Good Things Devils Do, Here Comes the Sun. And with all the things he's done, he says he's most grateful for the opportunity to lead Atlanta's Theater to Go, a theater company which produces multiple shows for seniors and has traveled extensively across the metropolitan area, enriching the lives of senior adults through the arts. Welcome, David.
Welcome. Oh, welcome to me. I'm so excited. Thank you, Brenda, for having me. I'm very honored, very pleased, just very excited to be sitting with you. Thank you so much.
Well, there's so much to talk about with you. So you are an actor, a writer, and a teaching artist, and you also lead a company, Theater to Go. So talk to us about Atlanta Theater to Go.
Atlanta Theater to Go is a traveling theater group which provides plays and entertainment for seniors all across the Atlanta metropolitan area. It's been in operation for the past 15 years, started by Miss Sandra Ilgen Fritz, who was 72 when she started the group. I came along in 2016 as an actor with them and was somehow offered this position to sort of lead this group. And we've grown from 2016 when I came on. We did about 20 shows a year, but now we're close in the 80s to 100 shows a year. So I'm proud of the progress we've made, the actors that have come along and worked with us, the senior communities that have brought us in, and most of all to the seniors who many I've seen for years now, even since 2016, still kicking through, especially in these COVID times and all of that. So it's sort of been a pleasure of mine to see that group mature. I'm looking for it to mature even further professionally with even more diverse actors and writers and directors and things of that nature. So I'm excited for where we're going.
So when you say you've done 80 shows, is it one show that you've done 80 times or?
No, we've actually, traditionally, we did 3 shows per year, 3 different shows, 3 original shows. I'm being a little ambitious for 2022, trying to do 4 shows per year for each season. All of the shows traditionally used to be original works. We would have a play call the year before. Most of our shows are only an hour in length. Some are musicals, primarily because the seniors can't sit generally for too long after that. So like I said, we're being ambitious, trying to do 4 shows a year and 4 different shows per year. So it's challenging, but I feel like we're in a position where it's needed. The seniors they took the brunt of this COVID thing, especially lockdowns and things, and they're hungry. They're just hungry, and it's a pleasure to, try and feed them.
Well, COVID in the senior community is a real concern. I teach at Darnell Senior Center, and we haven't opened back up since we closed in 2019 due to that. So I find myself wondering, where is it that you find your audiences if senior facilities are not open and running?
Well, many of them are. And what we found, I think the further out you go from Atlanta, because there was some we were doing like at the Lutheran Towers, which is downtown, some of the more in Atlanta city confines, I think a lot of them have not opened up, or not so much because of CDC or regular regulations. I believe they're just being very careful, which they should. Now we've been performing mass because obviously we're a fair distance away. But I've actually been pleasantly surprised that, especially with the Omicron thing that came up, that we've been welcomed back. So we're sort of taking it a day at a time. This current show we're doing is called Murder is Served. We've actually performed it about 4 times, and we've got about 20 shows left on that group.
You've done 4 and you've got 20 more to go?
Yeah, we've done 4 of the current show. We have about 20 still scheduled. I'm not going to go over 25 because it's supposed to end in mid-March. So, but they've been inviting us, and we're going to keep coming as long as they invite us. So we're crossing our fingers. But I think it goes back to what I said at first. The communities are hungry. The staff is hungry to find them something to do. Activities is hard. So they're always scrambling to have something. And I think what we provide is a unique product, other than other things I've seen. So I think we've been doing something right.
Now, are all your actors seniors?
No, once or twice we might get a senior. We generally get mid-range actors, 20s to 50s, 60s, depending on the play that we get. So most of the actors, we do the same process as any other company, any other theater, auditions, casting, the whole thing. And most of them are calling themselves professionals, whereas they're working here in the metropolitan area. We do pay. Now, I always say to the actors, no one's laughing all the way to the bank financially with theater to go, but the goal, Sandra's goal, was always to pay them as working professionals, and that's what we do. So some of them do okay, depending on how many shows we do, but it's work, you know what I mean? And sometimes providing work for actors, I think is, and I'm sure you think, is important.
Do you double cast?
We have in the past. There have been days when we did 3 shows per year that I would double cast a show. It got to be a little financially not viable for us because I thought we were paying more than we were getting. So I've gone back to single casting. And I think by shortening the runs, I've shortened the runs to about 8 weeks. I can get the most out of the actors because this, actors want to move on to other things. And so it shortens their run, shortens their commitment. Therefore, I can get the most out of them. And I think so far I'm able to get the 25 shows I'm looking for. So if I get 25 per season, I'm good to go.
And are you directing all of the pieces?
No. I did direct the winter piece. It was a little musical. I want to stay out of directing as much as I think I'm a decent director. I do think that, saying with all vanity. But it's it's too time consuming, and my goal is to stay ahead and to provide opportunities as much as I can. So for directors, there's a bunch of directors in Atlanta, there's a bunch of actors, there's a bunch of everything. So my goal is to provide as much opportunity as I can.
So in addition to doing this wonderful work, you also have your career of acting yourself.
Yes.
You have planned several projects already planned this year, something with Shakespeare Tavern and the Alliance. Talk to me about what's on your plate this year.
I'm amazed sometimes at my acting so-called career, as we call it, because I only started maybe professionally, maybe 8, 9 years ago. I was in teaching and other things. And so, started the way we all start. I started out as background on film, all this kind of stuff. And I always loved theater, and I did some plays many, many years ago. But anyway, to get to your question, I did get an understudy role in Tony Stone, which is at the Alliance. It was also performed by the Milwaukee Repertory Company, and now it's coming here to Atlanta. So I'm very excited, very nervous about it, because it's actually my first time I'll be working at Alliance. I'm very excited. And then Shakespeare Tavern, they're doing Much Ado About Nothing, and I play, I think, Antonio and Sexton in that, 2 small roles. But I'm excited because I've never been there also. So I'm very excited to see to challenge myself, it's kind of diverse. My agent always strokes my ego and says, you can play anything, which I think I can. But of course, we have to tell ourselves that sometimes, right? So, but it's a challenge to, do these diverse things. And I just feel very fortunate, to be in this position.
Well, you said before you acted, you were teaching.
Mhm.
What made you make that transition?
Well, I was teaching, and I'm going to tell you exactly what made that transition. It was where I was teaching, because I was a GED instructor in the Georgia prison system for a few few years, and also in the Arizona prison system. So I taught GED to people who, unfortunately, most people would view as undesirable, and obviously they've made mistakes, and they are where they're at. The environment was very challenging, because you had people who've done this and people who've done that, or maybe didn't do this or maybe didn't do that. That's not my job to distinguish. But the environment very challenging, from, and we're not going to get into this problem, from capital punishment people to people wrongfully accused and all of that. And my job wasn't to distinguish, but I felt very tired of that. And so when my wife, we left, and then my wife said, you should really pursue this acting, and you've talked about it for 1,000 years. You need to either put up or shut up, is basically what she said. So here we are.
Wow. So is your wife an actress?
She is not, thank God, and she does not wish to be. My wife now she's a full-time minister. She's led a ministry for 20 years that have a small part in, and she teaches liturgical dance and drama and all those ministerial things that are very deep that I don't always understand, but she lets me hang around, so I appreciate it.
So you call yourself a teaching artist as well.
Mm-hmm.
Talk
Yeah,
to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of doing some teaching for the August Wilson monologue competition, when it was at True Colors, and I did that about 2 years. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore, and they did want me to come back. And for those who don't know, I'm sure most people on this know who August Wilson is, but we coached high school students for the national competition. That was a great pleasure. It's not there anymore, but they still have a competition, but I didn't want to be a part of it this year. And then, like you, I'm going to be starting a drama basics group at a place called Kingsbridge, which is a retirement center. And they have a senior drama group, and they asked me to come and be a part of that. So I'm going to go in there and see what happens. See what happens. So I'm excited about that.
Well, I'm sure it will be fulfilling. It's one of the most rewarding things that I do, is working
Yeah.
with my seniors. I
Yeah.
mean, I wasn't a senior when I started, but I am now.
Yeah. I could see that, because I mean, I'm getting there. I'm 57, so I'm going to be technically by I guess, what is it? Definition, I think I'm a senior.
Yes, 55 and up. So as long as
So
we're 55, then we're there. Yeah. So in a short period of time, you have done a lot of work.
Yeah, that's what I say, Brenda, and I give all the credit to, if you believe in this sort of thing, a higher deity, power, whatever
Oh,
you want to
yes.
call it, spirit of the universe. And so I feel very fortunate to be in the position I'm in. I think I've just been blessed, you can use that word, I've been around good people such as yourself and others in the Atlanta area, and been exposed to good people. I like to think I have some good character. Because this thing, I don't think is all about talent, because it can't be. Because if it was all about talent, then it would be different. But I got a good compliment from a casting director here once that said, and I think he cast me because he just liked me. I really do think he did that. And because I had auditioned for him, and it was a film thing, and they cast me after like 13 auditions. I went and auditioned for this guy, and he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, man, I appreciate you coming down here, never having a the attitude that we artists can have. And I just appreciate you just showing up and doing the thing. And not to say that I've never been that person, because I have been, definitely. But I really think I've been pretty lucky.
Well, what has been the biggest surprise for you going from the world of the prison life to acting? What's the biggest surprise for you?
I think the biggest surprise is that you can just go. I think we look at theater and film and all of those things, and then there are these sort of mountains, right? Like, who does these things? It's so mysterious. Who's a director? What are these artistic direct? It seems very mysterious, right? Like something only the fortunate can do. And just going and day by day and week by week and month by month, year by year, and just being a part of it, to me, that was the biggest surprise, because it obviously didn't take, at least for me. Now, for some people, they go to school and they get all the great educations and beautiful things. I started late, so I didn't have the benefit of that. I mean, I had education, of course, but not in the world of theater and film and all of that. So the biggest surprise was just the openness to doing it. Like I could just go and do it, sink or swim, pass or fail, whatever it is. Because we've all had auditions. You probably haven't, but I have, where you stunk up the place and it was just terrible, and then some you're great and all this kind of stuff. But that's part of it, right? That's part of it.
Oh no, I have never stunk up the place. Never.
Yeah. I know you haven't.
Man.
I know you haven't. Me, however, there have been times when you go back to the car and you're like, what are you thinking, bro? So that to me was. I'm just gonna give up
acting. I'm horrible.
Yeah. That's it. I am not. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting myself through this nonsense? So I think that's been the biggest surprise. Just, I remember, I'll tell this short story if I can. I got the casting agent, George Pierre, who I just told you about. They called me one night and said, hey, well, my agent did, they need you on set the next day for a part I had auditioned for. For an audition, I felt I bombed. They need you on set. I come to find out is because they needed a mixed race, light-skinned, Black, African-American male. That's neither here nor there. But that's fine. I don't care why you cast me. Just cast me. I show up. Now here I am. You know who Ruben Santiago Hudson is. I believe that you do. And I'm in the scene with Ruben Santiago Hudson, sitting across from him, talking trash. I had never met Ruben Santiago. I knew who he was, but this is a Tony Award winning actor. You know what I mean? And then when Rocco Lee and some of these other cats, and here's David Rucker III, nobody sitting in this scene. And I'm just, I'm sweating bullets, Brenda. I'm sweating bullets. And it's just, we got to do it. You got to do the scene, right? 1,600 people are watching. They're running their line. They're super cool, super comfortable. And here I am trying to do these lines. So but when it was over, thank God we got through it. I saw it on film. I think I did a reasonable job. I don't even remember what I did, but we made it on through. So I think if you just do it, then you make a way. A way is made for you. If it's meant to be. I know that sounds sort of stupid spiritual, but that's how I feel. Just go for it.
I think you're so right. I've spent years and years and years just trying to do it right, trying to be at the right place and just in the last year or two, I've gone, just relax and be. And I have felt better. I may not have gotten much more work, but I have felt better about my work lately, because I'm just like, I'm here, I'm doing it. I'm not trying to impress. And I've gotten on sets and like been like this, just and been intimidated by some of the fabulous acting. I remember sitting across from someone at one point going, not even remembering my lines, because I'm like, look at her act. Oh my God.
They're awesome. Yeah, you just feel like, oh man, I'm not in this caliber. I shouldn't be here. I'm not here, but I get what you're saying.
But of course, that means I was not in the scene. So, I wasn't mentally in the scene. I was in my head. So, yeah.
It's a strange well, I guess it's a strange business. It's a strange thing, this thing we do. And sometimes I don't even know why we do it, which is why we're doing this. It seems so stupid at times.
Well, one of the very first teaching artist jobs that I had was at a women's prison. And we went in and we did a workshop, a play development, and they did a play. It was one of the most rewarding experiences
Absolutely.
I've had in my life.
I could absolutely.
And the power of the arts to help transform and or just release for those for that population. And it was very eye-opening to me because it did not matter whether they were in there for, check fraud or murder. I was able to see a person as a person.
Absolutely.
I'd love for you to speak for a moment about the power of the arts in places like that.
I think it cannot be overstated. Corrections, look, listen, no one I think is going to say corrections aren't necessary. Prisons technically are not necessary because I've met plenty of guys. Yeah, you need to be here, bro. I mean, and I don't mean that facetiously. It's just looking at their behavior and their mentality. Maybe you need to sit still in this place and reflect and then pay this consequence of whatever it is that you did. So I'm not against correction because we all have been corrected or need to be at times. But I think the arts opens up a door. When I worked in Arizona, they had a writer's workshop there that guys wrote poetry and things of that nature. And some of these guys were not getting out. This is all they had. And they were there. So I think the world needs artistic expression. We live in a time where everything is technical. It's a technical society now. And this from the history that artists were always looked upon as the violators, like we're bringing anarchy, we're subjugating God, we're blasphemous, we're all of these things. But what is the world without it? What is it without it? Some of these people, especially in the prisons, are going to come out to a world. And sometimes the world has passed them by. You know what I mean? In just a few years, the world has passed them by to a degree. So they have to be exposed to something greater than just the ordinary world that they left. And I think what arts do, it helps a person express and it shows more possibility in the world because the world itself is very limiting. It's limiting, but the art is all about expression. It's about possibility. Even if you don't like what I'm saying, I have the right to say it. It's also about teaching and history and getting different points of view, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's, whatever it is. Where would the world be, without art? Where would it be? I shudder to think what it would be if people couldn't express what's inside them to express. And the prison part, the locked up part, well, sometimes just that's a person who hasn't had a chance to express, you know what I mean, or hasn't seen the possibility in the world. They've lived a particular box world and they've never had that opportunity.
Rather than being able to outwardly express I am angry, they act out on that anger. And it would be really wonderful if they could put it in a song or poem or a performance piece.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these people are people who just got caught. That's really the bottom line. Because there's a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to say you, I'll say myself and maybe other people. Mm-hmm. Some things we've done. You don't live 50 plus years and never done anything. You know what I mean? Not that we've done heinous things. I'm just saying, some of these people got caught. Some of these people got rescued. You know what I mean? They got put there for a time to get it right. So that when they do come back out, they have a different perspective on life and then they can go forward.
Yet theater, during this pandemic has been the last thing to come out of, to open back up, because everything shut down and then everything started opening back up, but theater stayed closed for a
Yes.
long time.
Mhm.
We are now opening back up, but even in opening back up, a lot of theaters are cutting their runs short
Yes.
because of COVID, or their audiences aren't attending because of COVID.
Mhm.
And so, just in your opinion, where do you think the theater, especially Theater of Atlanta, not Theater on the Go, Atlanta, but
Sure.
where's theater in Atlanta? What's our future?
Well, I'm hopeful. I don't have any evidence to go by. I don't. I am hopeful that people's hunger, I think that sooner or later, this is just David Rucker III's opinion, we got to move forward, with this COVID, with this disease. Now, no one wants to die, and I'm not advocating herd immunity and anything of that nature. But life does have to go on to a certain degree, I think. And I think little by little, we as artisans and theaters may have to push it a little bit. Uh, and you hate to use the term take a chance. I don't, because that sounds flippant. Um, but if businesses and 7-Elevens and Quick Trips and all of these different places have made ways to open. Now we know they're financially motivated to do so, whereas the theater maybe not so much. But I do think there's something that we have to adapt and push ourselves to open a little bit, despite what could happen or has happened. That's just my opinion. And I'm not advocating this big run to the theater and everyone just throw the masks off. And I'm not advocating that. But I did go to GET, Georgia Ensemble, maybe 2 months ago and saw Ain't Misbehaving. And wasn't full, but it wasn't empty either. And there were a lot of older people, and they were there in the audience. There was some social distancing. They did add, mandate masks while you're in the theater. And sooner or later, I think we just have to do what we came to do. You know what I mean? Within reason, within guidelines and all of this nature, and protect ourselves, whether we're using masks or I don't know what, I don't know. But I do think it's at some point we got to push a little bit to reopen and reestablish ourselves. I'm sure I get some backlash for that, but
Well, I mean, there's some people that will feel that theater will survive it, and other people feel like we're at the beginning of the end of theater
yeah,
because of
I can't take that view, and I refuse to accept that. And the main reason I refuse to accept it is because things happen. This pandemic, other things in history have happened, and sometimes things happen, and things then are created in the cocoon of the happening. So think about all of the writing that's been done during the pandemic and the lockdowns, all of the people who are now hungry to get back out there and push and create things. So I think sometimes in life, even our personal lives, we've been sat down for a minute and it stirred us to either go in a different direction or push for that thing that we really want. So that's why I refuse to accept that. I refuse to believe that as brave as theater artists are, that we don't have the gumption to push ourselves. I refuse to. And if we don't, then that's sad. That's sad if we don't.
well, I know that a lot of people have gone to film. They've gone, oh, theater's closed, I'm gonna start doing more film.
Well, the money's there too.
Yeah,
That's
well,
another
that's
thing.
true. Money's there, there's not as long a commitment,
Mhm.
but my heart's in theater.
Yeah, I just refuse to accept that. Now film has opened up because there's so many outlets now for film, TV and whatnot, and streaming and all of that. I just think they sent us the video of Tony Stone, and I watched it. There's a magic that theater does that it can't, I don't care about the CGI and all, it can't be duplicated because it's the creative part. Now, I will say, I think that there is something in the society that is against creative people and creative things, right? Because again, we're technical right now. But boy, when you watch a show done well and you watch actors transition and move things and change costume and put on a hat, now there's a magic in that. And maybe we need to be reminded. Maybe we need to go see a show. Go see a show and remind yourself of what theater is about. Yeah.
If you were to go back, 30 years before you knew you were going to be an actor, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't know if I have any advice for myself then, because I think there's a part of me that feels I've had to go through the things, as we've all done, that I've had to go through to be in this position, to be at this point, to do what I'm doing now. And I'm not sure my 30 or 20 something year old self wouldn't have listened. I wouldn't have listened to me. I wouldn't have. I was out of my freaking mind. And I'm not saying I was wild, but I was living my life the way I wanted to live my life, and you couldn't tell me otherwise. Ask my wife and ask my mother. So I'm not even sure that person would have listened. But so I'm hard-headed. So I don't think I would have listened, but I had to go through the things I had to go through to be at this point. Now, assuming I might have listened, I would have said maybe just pursue it. Pursue what you're dreaming about. And that's cliche and corny, and I know all of that. But I think along the way, sometimes in life you get sidetracked. We get sidetracked, marriage, children, but all these different things. And we don't pursue it. You know what I mean? I knew I wanted to be a writer from a long or early age, but I didn't pursue it. And the sad thing is, Brenda, I didn't even think to pursue it. Because I was so busy running around doing the things that I wanted to do, that I wasn't disciplined enough. And maybe that's what I tell you. You need to get more disciplined, son. Because I wasn't disciplined at all.
But you are now. You are definitely now.
We're getting there.
We haven't talked about your writing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you wanted to be a writer?
Originally, yeah. And
originally. And what kind of writing did you want to do? And are you writing now?
Yeah, I'll start backwards. I am writing now, although slowly. I will admit freely in front of the whole world that watches the show that I have not been disciplined in that area. So anyway, when I was a kid, I dreamt about writing a novel. I think from the age of 12, 13, I dreamt it because I was an avid reader. I read all the time. I once got in trouble in school for hiding books in my desk. So I read all the time. Thank my mother for that. So I always dreamt about writing a novel. As I got a little older, got some sidetracking, got some other interests, I thought about writing plays, which I've done. Then I thought about writing screenplays, which I've done. I haven't sold one yet, but and so I flux back and forth between screenplay writing and then playwriting. I still would like to write a novel one day. Again, not disciplined enough yet. One day we'll get to it. But I did have the good fortune when I started writing screenplays, I basically had to teach myself how to do it. Because again, I didn't go to school for it. So I just went to the library, got some books, learned how to write screenplays. So about 3 years ago, I submitted a screenplay to the Austin Film Festival, and I made it to the top 50 out of about 30,000 screenplays. So I thought that was pretty doggone good. And still, I haven't sold that screenplay yet.
Yet.
Well, because I just fired the agent I had because I felt he wasn't doing enough. But it's okay. That's a blessing too, because I felt that the agent at the time, he was thinking too small about my screenplay because my screenplay is good and it's big. But anyway, so I am working on a second screenplay. Hopefully I shall finish this year and hopefully get another agent. And I will submit to some Atlanta local play festivals. Although as I read different plays, I'm like, your play is nowhere as good as theirs. You stink, buddy. Give it up. You're not like I read Tony's song. Like, man, this is good. Mine's nowhere near this good. Throw it to the side. So, but you dream and keep working.
Well, I want to take the time to thank you. I really want to thank you for being here with me today. I've enjoyed our conversation,
Thank
and
you.
I'm wishing you much luck in all your endeavors this year and forever.
Well, thank you, Brenda. This was great. I can't thank you enough, and I mean that sincerely. Like I said, you do this acting thing or whatever we do, and of course, we all have this part of, at least I do, where you want to be. Let's face it, we all want to be recognized a little bit for what we do, and I try not to let that part take over. But in these times, it's nice to be invited and talk about yourself a little bit, and because it helps me to see how far I've come, how far I've been brought, and then exposed to great people doing great things like yourself and others. And because I think we're such a small community. We're a big community, but a small community, that we all want to work with the best people. And, we've all known talented people that we don't want to work with. We're like, yeah, you're talented, but I can't take you for 8 weeks. I can't deal with you. So I'm striving to not be that person. Now you're going to be that with somebody, but I just want to be a person that works. I would like to work. I would like to make money. I would like to explore all the creative avenues that I can explore, and just be a part of the team, because that's what's important, right? Because we're the fame society right now. Everyone wants to be just famous, but no one wants to be on the team per se. Hopefully I can do that.
Well, I'm looking forward to the time when you and I will get a chance to work together.
I would be honored, and well, I guess just to touch on that, I think people, to the artists, I guess who's ever watching, right? Because we've all gone up for things and kind of thought, okay, I can do this and I'm good at that and I can get that, and then it didn't happen, right? And there's a disappointment that it didn't happen. But then when you get into the casting and you get into looking at something when it's done, then you realize, oh, there's other talented people out there. There's other people who are more suited for whatever the project was. And you just start to appreciate everybody for what they're doing, and know that your time is in the mix. Your time is in the mix. And so I'm just really grateful to you for even keeping me in your head.
Oh yeah, you're in there. Yeah, and you're right. There's so many times that sometimes it's not even about who was better.
Yeah,
but it's sometimes who fits.
Who fits, yeah. Exactly.
So once again, thank you so much for being here today. And if you are watching today, I invite you to comment below, subscribe, and like us. And meanwhile, keep the conversations going.
Let's have a heart-to-heart. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a heart-to-heart. Let's have a consultation. Let's have a heart-to-heart. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a heart-to-heart. Let's have a conversation. On the couch.